Hey everybody, this is Pavan Perswani, the Associate Director of Student Support, coming to you to let you get to know another member of our Office of Student Support team. Today I'm joined by Megan Humphries, our Case Manager for Student Conduct, and we're going to be getting to know Megan a bit more. So we'll start off just by turning it over to her. So Megan, can you do your best to introduce yourself, including your pronouns, and doing your best to tell your story in 60 seconds or less? I don't have a stopwatch, so don't worry about the timing.
Sure. My name is Megan Humphries. I use she, her pronouns. And my story, I grew up in Maryland in Carroll County. I went to college for undergrad at Towson University. After graduating, I worked for a couple of years in the domestic violence field, working with victims and helping them as a court advocate. And then coming to UB and working here is my first job in higher education. So I kind of have a different type of background from what I'm doing now. Um, Other than work, I have a cat at home and I like to play games online with my friends.
There you go. So moving on, can you tell me a story about an impactful mentor in your life and the role that they played?
Sure. I had a professor in college that I worked sort of like a TA for, and took a bunch of classes with her as well. And when I was working with her as a TA that semester, we grew really close, and she became, I guess, one of the most important mentors in my young adult life, really helping me a lot with my educational experiences and advice there, and also helping me with professional advice, and kind of just became a person that I can always turn to whenever I need help with anything. Even, years later after graduating, I still have her as somebody who I can turn to for advice at any point in time. So she's always been a really, really helpful mentor for me.
Gotcha. So the next question deals a bit with the work that our office does. And so obviously it's the Office of Student Support. And so can you tell me what student support means to you and how you see it in the work that you do every day?
To me, student support means just that, we're here for students. We're not here for any other reason other than to help students through their college experience. We want them to have the most positive, impactful experience that they can at UB. For me, I see it in the work that I do because, in my position, it could easily become something to where I'm just seen as maybe like a bad guy or the mean person. But I try to take that student support in mind as I go through my position, and take into consideration students' lives and their perspectives, and try and help them through any difficult situations rather than just punish them for whatever they're referred to me for.
So if someone was to write a biography about you, what do you anticipate the title would be? And I should warn you that this is the hardest question in the list, I think.
Yeah, actually, it was hard. I had to ask people for help and advice. Um, and actually, I did get helpful advice from somebody. I think that my biography would be titled Tabula Rasa. It is Latin for blank slate.
Hmm.
I have it tattooed on my arm, and it's kind of like one of my, I guess, mottos of life that I live by. So I think that that's what my biography would be titled.
Okay. So obviously you started at UB a little under a year ago. And so what is the most important thing you've learned while at the University of Baltimore?
Well, I've learned a lot while at UB. As I said, this is my first position in higher education. So I've learned a lot just in terms of how, the dynamics work and the environment works. And I've learned a lot about, what kind of goes on behind the scenes when you're a student in college. Unless you have direct experience with a certain office or a certain person, you don't really think about who all is involved in helping to create that good student experience. So I've learned a lot about like the kind of people that are working behind the scenes that are helping students that might not be what you first think of in terms of like the higher education experience. So that's been really interesting to learn about all of the different things that we do and how we're all here to help the students.
Awesome. And then last question. So why the University of Baltimore for you?
Why UB? I honestly have always loved Baltimore, and a big thing for me that I liked about UB was the fact that it was so um, different, I guess, from what you would imagine of a typical 4-year institution. I like how we help to serve a lot of underserved populations, a lot of people who you don't typically think of to get that college experience, like first generation college students, minority populations. That's always been something really wonderful to me because I believe that everyone, if they want to, should have the right to have a college education. So I love that UB is here serving as sort of like that non-traditional place where people can go at any point in their life, regardless of their history or their background, to get that quality education.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and letting folks get to know you a little bit more. For anybody who's watching, please feel free to check out the rest of the video so you can get to know the rest of our team. But thanks so much for joining me. And anything you want to say before we sign off, Megan?
I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay.